Welcome, aloha everyone. Welcome to a joint hearing between the Committee on Labor, Culture and the Arts and the Committee on Ways and Means. Today is Wednesday, February 17th. Our hearing is supposed to start at 3:30, but it's roughly 3:40 now. We are in conference room 225. We have one bill on this joint hearing, and it is House Bill 1278, House Draft 1, relating to employment security. This amends the definitions of benefit year and week, conforms manner of filing claims for partial benefits to the same as for total or part total benefits, and does a number of other things. So we have testimony today from beginning with the Department of Labor Industrial Relations Director Stockio.
Good afternoon, Chair Taniguchi and Chair Dela Cruz, Vice Chairs, and members of the committees. We stand on our written testimony and are here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Hawaii Restaurant Association, Mr. Lim. Oh, is he on?
Are we coming in?
Okay. Nope, there he is.
Hi, good afternoon, Chair Taniguchi, Chair Dela Cruz, and Senators on the Committee on Labor and Committee on Ways and Means. The Hawaii Restaurant Association strongly support HB 1278 HD1 that's been proposed. We know that a lot of the legislators on both sides of the aisle, as well as the Department of Labor, along with the business community, has worked very hard to find a equitable UI rates for 2021 and 2022 because this is very, very important for the survival of the businesses out there in Hawaii. And I just want to say that, you know, as it's been written, we strongly support as it is. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Chamber of Commerce of Hawaii.
Good afternoon, Chairs Taniguchi and Dela Cruz and members of the committees. The Chamber strongly supports House Bill 1278 HD1. First, we want to thank the legislature and the administration, including Department of Labor, for your leadership in advancing much-needed government relief for businesses. This government relief measure is a lifeline to Hawaii's businesses and prevent Hawaii the unemployment assessments from skyrocketing. In January, the Chamber of Commerce Foundation and OmniTrack, with the support of CPB Foundation, conducted a pulse of business survey. Mitigating the significant increase in unemployment insurance tax was one of the top priorities to avoid job reductions, or for some, to close the doors permanently. The survey also found that more than 68% of businesses are facing severe downturns in revenues, which impacts jobs. In fact, revenues fell on average 45%, which led to half of those polls reducing their workforce. So as you can see, since the onset of COVID in March 2020, businesses have continued to struggle to make ends meet with less revenue. In this current environment, every dollar counts for our local businesses. So we are truly grateful and appreciative of the proactive and collaborative efforts put forth in this bill thus far. We need government policies to foster a quicker economic recovery, and this bill will definitely help businesses and save jobs in Hawaii. Thank you for the opportunity to testify, and we ask you to pass this measure. Thank you.
Thank you. For the future testifiers, we had a Senate bill that was very similar, so it won't be necessary to kind of go over the entire content of your testimony. So anyway, we'll proceed to Hawaii Food Industry Association. Not in? Okay, we'll come back. Kona Kohala Chamber of Commerce.
Aloha. Aloha, Chair Taniguchi, Chair Dela Cruz, and committee members. My name is Wendy Laros, and I'm the President and CEO of the Kona Kohala Chamber of Commerce. We support House Bill 1278 HD1 relating to employment security. With nearly 500 members, our chamber represents the business community in the Kona and Kohala districts on the west side of Hawaii Island. This is where tourism drives our local economy. Our large resorts collectively employ thousands of people in our community, and many of our small businesses support the visitor experience, whether retail, restaurants, farming, fishing, activities, and tours. Obviously, 2020 was a hard year for our businesses here in West Hawaii, with severe loss of business and mass employee layoffs. Based on the Hawaii Tourism Authority's monthly reports, Hawaii Island received only 130,000 visitors in April. And that was down to 705 is what we had. In October, of course, Safe Travels, the program helped to launch travelers, and we ended the year with 490,000. And that's compared to 2019, where we had 1,700,000. The University of Hawaii Economic Research Organization annual Hawaii forecast for Hawaii Island 2021 has a visitor count of approximately 700,000, about 1 million less visitors for this year. Why I'm pointing this out is that's 1 million less customers, and so the hardships will continue throughout 2021 and 2022. And we do want to thank you for recognizing that by making sure that the schedule didn't skyrocket all the way up to H. Although we were hoping to keep it at C, we are supportive of having the schedule for the unemployment insurance tax rate to stay at D for the next couple of years, because our businesses here will continue to struggle. The Kona Kohala Chamber of Commerce exists to provide leadership and advocacy for a successful business environment in West Hawaii. Mahalo for this opportunity to testify.
Thank you. Altris, Baron Gus.
Aloha chairs, Taniguchi, Nihara, and Dela Cruz, and Keith Aragon. My name is Baron Gus, and I'm the president and CEO of a second-generation Hawaii business, Altris. I think by the enormous amount of testimony that we have today, it's really evident and clear that everyone, whether it be in the House, the Senate, the business sector, community associations, we appreciate and we applaud your efforts to address this looming tax. People don't realize we're still at Schedule H, and I think unless something crazy happens, there will be a bill passed, and we'll go to Schedule D, possibly Schedule C, but most likely D. And I would imagine everybody on this call will go away thinking, crisis averted, we did it. But there's a bigger crisis that is looming, and most people understand that there is a $700 million debt now owed to the federal government. What they don't really understand is that at the end of this year, most likely that debt will rise to $1.2 billion. I'd ask that you read my testimony and get a grasp of the situation. This situation is going to exacerbate year after year. We have to address the debt, and even if you left it in Schedule H, you would not address the debt. We have to get this debt off of the balance sheet of the Department of Labor. We have to move it into the general balance sheet of the state. We need to maybe finance it through bonds, or there are some other mechanisms out there. But everybody on this call, you need to be very aware that addressing the schedule keeps our economy growing and alive, but the economy will become extinct if we one day have to raise taxes on employers to address the debt. Thanks very much. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Tax Foundation of Hawaii. Parents and children together. Mr. Kusumoto.
Thank you, chairs and committee members, for the opportunity to testify. I am Ryan Kusumoto, President and CEO of Parents and Children Together. We stand behind our written testimony and want to add a few more here. We want to speak specifically to DLIR's amendment for reimbursing employers and express our appreciation to the department for this consideration. Reimbursing employers have had to pay for the exponential increases in unemployment this year, as opposed to being spread over the next few years through rate increases. As a result, we have seen increases collectively of about 260%, with some organizations seeing an increase of 1,600% this year. Moreover, the base period claims have hit us hard. We're covering charges for employees who left our organizations to go to another one and then was subsequently laid off from that organization. Some reimbursing employers have not laid off any employees, but still have had record unemployment charges due to these base period claims. So we urge your support and thank you for the consideration, as this will help all of us continue the vital frontline services that keep our community safe, healthy, and engaged. Mahalo.
Thank you. Maui Chamber of Commerce.
Chair, thank you so much. I'm Aloha Chairs Taniguchi and Dela Cruz, Vice Chairs Ihara Jr. and Keith Agaran, members of the Committee on Labor, Culture, and the Arts, and the Ways and Means Committee. We deeply appreciate you combining your hearing today and coming together to work on this important issue, a critical issue for our members. I'm Pamela Tumpah, President of the Maui Chamber of Commerce, the county most impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic in terms of our reliance on the visitor industry and our corresponding rate of unemployment. What I wanted to share today is, that we deeply appreciate the collaborative efforts. It's really critical during this time, and it's very important that we understand that businesses are really hanging on by a thread. Of the businesses who have not closed, in a recent survey of our membership, 10% said they're still unsure if their business will survive this year, and that will depend on additional relief efforts. In addition, many of those who have laid workers off really don't know how many they'll be bringing back, particularly in the smaller, which we would call micro businesses here. With our economic recovery projected to go on for several years, we support solutions that keep costs as low as possible this year, and really over the next 2 years. When we heard the Department of Labor's testimony, we understood that one of the key reasons for Schedule D was that with Schedule C, not all employers were paying in on a solution. And yet Schedule D results in certain increases that start at a minimum, of those who had excellent ratings from 94.80 up to 474 per employee. So for our businesses with 10 employees, that could still be between $1,000 to $5,000 of unexpected expenses. This is far better than Schedule H, and we appreciate that this bill has a shorter period of time, which gives us time to relook at things later on. However, we went back and said, how do we address this issue and come up with a winning solution where everybody contributes to the solution? And what we looked at is that on that 15% where businesses would not pay at Schedule C as it is now, we strongly recommend staying at Schedule C, but at a minimum reserve rate of the .1400 to .1499. In this scenario, all businesses would contribute to the bottom line, even those who've had an excellent experience rating. So of course, because of that rating, they'd be paying at a lower level and would be paying the maximum of $47.40 per month, which is still a savings to them. Otherwise, they'd be paying $94.80 per month on Schedule D. So it's not an unreasonable ask, and yet that doesn't penalize the other 85% who are struggling, and that allows them to stay at Schedule C for at least 1 year, if not 2. So we'd like to ask that people consider our compromise position. This did come in after the first bill was heard, as a solution, as we look to, look at a way to find a solution to have all businesses pay in and contribute something and be part of a winning solution. So we hope you'll look at it in that vein, understand the devastation to our economy, and also understand that, businesses were shut down for the health and safety of our community. They follow county and state rules. But we also have to look at this solution long-term in a different way, that they shouldn't be responsible for shoring everything up. We also need to look at some government assistance as we move forward, and ask that you consider our compromise. Mahalo for the opportunity to testify, and again, we appreciate all of the tremendous work on this bill.
Thank you. Hawaii Farm Bureau. Koala Saloon and Spa, Leticia Thomas, Nelson Bifatel, Pro Service Hawaii.
Thank you, Chair Taniguchi, Chair Dela Cruz, and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. On behalf of our 2,400 clients of Pro Service Hawaii, we would like to stand on our testimony in support of this bill, and we just want to express our gratitude and appreciation to the Labor Director, the administration, and the lawmakers for your foresight and political will to find a sensible solution to provide our businesses tax relief during the next 2 years as we depend on them to rebuild our economy. Thank you.
Thank you. Down to Earth, Organic and Natural, Allison Riggs.
Aloha chairs and
Aloha.
committee members. Thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of this measure. Down to Earth has 6 locations on Oahu and Maui. We've got close to 300 local employees, and we've been in business here for over 40 years. We don't want to have to lay off or furlough any more employees, but we will be forced to without the state's help. We urge you to pass this bill and continue to support local employers in whatever way you can. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else who joined us that we called since? Okay. So that's the end of the testifiers. Do we have questions from members? Online. If not, I'm going to recommend pass as is. Do you want to go into the breakout room or not necessary? Okay. So the chairs are ready to go into decision making. With regard to House Bill 1278, House Draft 1, relating to employment security, both chairs are going to recommend we pass as is. Any discussion? If not, I guess we're ready for the vote. For the Committee on Labor, Culture and Arts, Senator Ihara.
Okay, Labor Committee members, we're voting on the chair's recommendation to pass House Bills 1278 HD1 unamended. Chair Taniguchi.
Aye.
Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Chang.
Aye.
Senator Keo'olole.
Aye.
Senator Favela.
Aye.
Recommendations adopted.
Thank you.
Same recommendation for Ways and Means to pass unamended. Chair votes aye.
Okay. For the Committee on Ways and Means on HB 1278 HD1 to pass unamended, Chair goes aye. Senator Agaran.
Aye.
Senator English.
Aye.
Okay, aye. Lorraine Inouye goes aye. Senator Kanuha.
Aye.
Senator Kidani. Is Senator Kidani here? Excused? Huh? Okay. Senator Moriwaki.
Aye.
Senator Shimabukuro is excused. Senator Taniguchi.
Aye.
Senator Wakai.
Excuse.
Senator Favela.
Aye.
Measure is adopted, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, members.
Wednesday, February 17, 3:40 p.m. joint hearing of the Senate Committees on Government Operations and Labor, Culture, and the Arts. We are in Conference Room 225. I'm Sharon Moriwaki, Chair of Government Operations Committee, and with me is Senator Chang, Senator Favela, I think remotely, Chair Taniguchi for your committee.
Oh, okay. I guess we have Senator, myself, Taniguchi, Senator Ihara, Senator Keo'olole, and Senator Chang. I believe Senator Favela is also on. Yeah, I don't see him, but I believe he's on.
Okay. Do we need to do housekeeping, or you've done that already in this meeting?
I think we can roll it. I
Okay.
think we're okay.
Okay, we're going to move, we have just one bill before this joint committee. Senate Bill 830 requires the executive branch departments to establish telework and alternative work schedule policies. We're going to go through the testimony from Mary Alice Evans, Office of Planning. Mary Alice here. Mary Alice.
Chairs, the Office of Planning supports the intent of this measure and offers information on a survey that we are collaborating with on Work Where You Live that will be available, completed in the fall. And I have with me Rodney Funakoshi and Aaron Sitagawa if you have questions about the survey. Thank you, Chairs.
Thank you, Mary Alice. Next is Max Otani, Public Safety Department Director, with comments. Riker Wada from DHRD. Is anybody here from Human Resources Department?
Hello, Chairs Moriwaki, Taniguchi, Vice Chairs and members of the committee. Riker Wada, represent the Department of Human Resources Development. We'll primarily stand on our testimony. We do note the effective use of telework has been an instrumental part of the state's COVID-19 response. We are concerned, however, that the issues pertaining to employees' wages, work conditions have historically been subject to collective bargaining between the employer and the exclusive employee representatives. There are already two existing memorandums of understanding as well as interim guidelines that govern the use of telework for the state executive branch. And it would be difficult to mandate that a specific percentage of employees offered the opportunity to telework, as a one-size-all-fits approach is very difficult to implement. We do offer, and I do apologize, chairs, we did submit a secondary set of testimony offering an amendment. So while we do believe that this is a matter that's most appropriately dealt with through collective bargaining, we do support an amendment that would amend the measure to instead form a working group with stakeholders to meet on this topic prior to any negotiated agreement on telework. And we believe we can get these meetings conducted and incorporate some of the studies that, for instance, Mary Alice had been talking about prior to the next legislative session. And I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next is Department of Education Superintendent Christina Kishimoto. Is she on? Oh, aloha. From DOE.
Hi, this is Cindy Covell from the DOE. Good afternoon. Chair Moriwaki, Taniguchi, Vice Chairs and Committee members. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Talent Management at DOE. We stand on our written testimony in support of the intent of this bill. We believe it supports our strategy for innovation and modernization of our teaching and learning practices. Also support the study that was previously mentioned and align with Dee Hurd's comments. Mahalo for the opportunity to testify. I'll be available for questions.
Thank you. Next is the Hawaii State Commission on the Status of Women, Cara.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members. We are in support of this measure. I have very brief comments, otherwise we'll just refer you to our testimony. I just want to applaud Riker and Dee Hurd first and foremost, because I know that they've been working very hard to get the interim policy in place for telework and caregiving. I also know that, department leadership has really tried to communicate that we should be flexible, especially for women and caregivers. But at the same time, the situation and the seriousness of the impact on gender equality of how this has been understood and implemented inconsistently shows that we have a bigger problem. And what I'm concerned with, as much as I respect negotiability and the union process that is already underway, it's just unclear that that's going to provide a solution given the other priorities during the negotiations. So there's no guarantee, right? So we just want to make sure that this is institutionalized as policy, because there is still so much kind of cultural resistance to the idea of caregiving for telework that we're not acknowledging, and that's causing serious crisis, especially in the lives of women working for the state. So Thank you so much, and we ask that you pass this measure. Thank you.
Thank you, Cara. Next, Department of Transportation, Director Jade Butai. Is he on? In support? Oh, is he on? No. Okay. For the AAUW of Hawaii, Younghee Overly.
Good afternoon, chairs, vice chairs, and members of the committee. My name is Younghee Overly, and I am the public policy chair for AAUW of Hawaii. Thank you for this opportunity to testify in strong support for Senate Bill 830. In addition to the written testimony we submitted, I wanted to comment on a couple of other testimonies and also share with you what I learned from my personal experience. There is a request to amend SB 830 for a study or work group, and if you decide to do so, we request that all state departments at least adopt emergency telework policies set by the interim guidance by Department of Human Resources Development that was set back in March 2020. The interim guidance permits state employees to telework while caregiving, and that may address the concerns that Cara brought up just previously, because as you all know, that will at least protect state employees, typically women employees, from being forced to quit their job to care for family members during the pandemic. Now, I want to move on to share with you my personal experience. I retired from IBM after 30 years of service. I managed the teams from around the world for 13 of those 30 years, some of whom worked at IBM locations and some of whom worked from their home.
Younghee, I'm going to ask you, sorry, I'm going to ask you to speed it up, but give us your experience and wrap it up. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. And for 6 of those 30 years, I also personally worked from home. And from my experience, although it takes extra effort to develop and implement strategy for online collaboration and team building, it's worth it. You'll have a happier employee and productivity actually goes up.
Thank you.
Thank you again, and I'll be around for questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Next is testifying for Hawaii Children's Action Network.
They weren't approved. You gotta go to HGA.
What?
They weren't approved.
No. Oh, the next one. I'm sorry. Randy Pereira from the HGEA, Hawaii Government Employees Association. Oh.
Good afternoon, chairs, vice chairs, and members of the committees. Michelle Kurihara-Klein on behalf of Randy Pereira, our executive director, and the Hawaii Government Employees Association. We are in very strong support of the concept of telework for the many benefits that are not only outlined in the preamble, but in our written testimony. However, I do want to echo the comments and sentiment that Dee Herb raised, that any changes to employee wages, hours, and terms and conditions are constitutionally protected and must be negotiated and mutually agreed upon by both the exclusive representative, which is the union, as well as the employer. So the relationship must be beneficial to both parties. I also wanted to make mention of our request for amendment, which is a deletion of the mandate of 30% of eligible positions participating by July 1st, 2025. Because telework is a negotiable item, it may be where there are much more employees who are eligible and able to telework, but there may be situations where departments cannot accommodate a 30% threshold. Therefore, we do request the deletion of language found on page 5, line 7. And I'll be available to answer any questions that any of the committee members may have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michelle. Next, HSTA. Corey Rosenblee, I see Laverne Moore.
Good afternoon, Chair Moriwaki, Chair Taniguchi, and members of the committees. I'm Laverne Moore, speaking on behalf of Corey Rosenblee, President of HSTA. We stand on our written testimony in support of Senate Bill 830, and I want to make a few comments. Presently, an educator with a cold or a bad cough is not allowed on campus for you are labeled sick. the educator is still able to work and have the ability to telework from home. Our students are still receiving a quality education from a highly qualified teacher. Elderly and child care is costly for families, and allowing employees to simultaneously act as caregivers while working at home adds to their financial security for our families. Teleworking could reduce office space and electrical consumption. It also would remove more vehicles from the road and cut down on commuting time. Offering options for telework is just good policy and benefits not only employees, but also our state government. The Hawaii State Teachers Association asks your committees to support this bill, for families are already having a hard time making ends meet in our state with its high cost of living. Thank you so much for testifying.
Thank you, Laverne. Do we have anybody else online that wants to testify? No. Okay, so I have written testimony from the Hawaii Children's Action Network speaks in support. Planned Parenthood Votes Northwest in Hawaii supports. Hawaii's, and individuals, Mike Golyut, Ann Freed, Rachel Salamas, Caroline Kunitaki, Jean Evans, Thaddeus Pham, Kristen T., Allison Mikuni, Joey DeWater, Patrick Billick, Janet Morse, and Carissa DeWeird, all in support. Okay, at this time, members, any questions? We're going to go into recess for decision making. The Government Operations and Labor, Culture, and Arts Committees coming back into decision-making on Senate Bill 830. The chair recommends that we pass with amendments from the HRD in terms of updating their 2010 telework MOU and their interim guidelines so that telework and policies can be addressing the caregiver needs of our employees, and working with the unions on a working group so that they can come up with policies for the next legislative session. Language from the HRD will be provided. Vice Chair?
I have a question.
Oh,
Are you deleting the 30% mandate?
No. We'll exclude all the language and instead have a working group to work on the policy.
So you are deleting, okay, it's replacing, okay.
So we're replacing the language in the bill with a working group to work on the policies and updating policies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay, is that okay?
Yeah, it's a germane, good in place, yeah.
Okay. So Chair recommends amendments with using the HRD language on a working group.
Okay, Senate Bill 830, recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair votes aye, Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Chang.
Aye.
Senator Gabbard, excuse. Senator Favela.
Aye.
Recommendation adopted.
Yeah, same recommendation for Committee on Labor, Culture, and the Arts. Senator Ihara.
You heard the chair's recommendation. I'll take the vote of the members present. Chair Taniguchi.
Aye.
Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Chang.
Aye.
Senator Keoho Kalole.
Aye.
Senator Favela.
Aye.
Recommendations adopted.
Thank you, members and participants. This meeting is now adjourned.
Thank you. Welcome. This is the Committee on Labor, Culture, and the Arts. We have a hearing today. Today's Wednesday, February 17th. This is for a 3:45 p.m. hearing, but it is after 415 right now. We are in conference room 225. We have one bill, Senate Bill 678, relating to collective bargaining. And so we'll begin with testifiers. Let's see, Raikawada, Office of Collective Bargaining.
Aloha, Chair Taniguchi, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Raikawada, Chief Negotiator representing the Office of Collective Bargaining. We will stand on our very short testimony, but we do oppose Senate Bill 678. We're concerned the bill diminishes the governor's authority by compelling him just to pick one person as opposed to what currently is the practice of choosing from a list of 3. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you. Hawaii Labor Relations Board.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Midori Hirai, and I'm appearing on behalf of Marcus Oshiro and the Hawaii Labor Relations Board. This bill has 2 parts, and most of the testimony that you'll see revolves around the first part, the process for nominating the labor representative on the board. Hawaii Labor Relations Board has submitted written comments about this part, mainly centering around the fact that roughly 50% of our cases, which come from HIOSH, are not represented in the nomination process for the board at all right now. But I primarily want to focus on the second part of the bill, which most of the testimony does not go into. This is the process for removing the labor member of the board. The board, as a quasi-judicial body who rules over contested cases, has an obligation to be neutral and fairly apply the law. Each board member brings their unique background to the board, one from labor, one from management, and one representing the public. Regardless of their backgrounds and seat designations, they are all expected to follow the law and remain neutral. In contested cases, one side generally wins the case and one side generally loses the case. The outcome is supposed to be based on the rule of law, not on the board members' particular backgrounds or feelings about the case. As drafted, what this second part would do is effectively remove the labor member of the board's neutrality by making them beholden to a particular party. If that board member does not do what that party wants, then they could be directly removed by that party without any actual cause and without any opportunity to defend themselves. That means that that board member's tenure is reliant on doing what that party wants rather than on following the rule of law. If the legislature wants to institute a removal system for a board member and cares about the board's neutrality, the process for removing a board member should go through a neutral body who would not appear before the board, such as the legislature, and that board member should have the opportunity to defend themselves. If the legislature cares about the board's ability to remain neutral, the board would submit that this second part cannot be passed as drafted. Thank you for the opportunity to testify on this measure, and I am available to answer any questions.
Thank you. HGEA.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Michelle Kurihara-Klein on behalf of the Hawaii Government Employees Association and our Executive Director, Randy Pereira. We are standing on our written testimony in strong support of the passage of this measure. I think it's slightly uncanny for the legislature to see all 6 public sector unions standing in solidarity to support one measure, and this is what you do have today. I do want to supplement our written testimony with several oral comments. I did note that in prior hearings, as well as in the written testimony submitted today by the Labor Board, that there is language that specifies the representative of labor is not truly a representative of labor, that this is someone who should be making impartial judgments. But I do want to elaborate on the fact that I think the legislature purposefully selected the words representative of labor in lieu of saying an individual with labor background. And this speaks to the fact that the person who sits on the board should be the representative that represents labor unions and labor's side of the story. I'll be happy to answer any questions about the mechanics of the bill. I do want to note for the Senate that while we are seeking a reduction of a list of 3 to a list of 1, there are many reasons for this. It's very challenging to find 3 qualified individuals who would garner the majority of the executive representative support. Additionally, the nominee will go through Senate confirmation. And at that time, if the governor or any of the employer representatives have issue with the nominee, they can utilize the public mechanism to down or oppose any nomination. So there is still a checks and balances that is included in this bill. So thank you very much, and I'll be available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. HSTA.
My name is Wilbert Holk, and I'm the Executive Director of the Hawaii State Teachers Association. HSTA will stand on its written testimony in strong support of Senate Bill 678. Thank you.
Thank you. That does it for the people who signed up to testify but through Zoom. We do have 6 others who support and 1 other person who opposes, as well as another person who submitted comments. So with that, are there any questions from members?
I had a couple of questions. Yeah.
Sure. You're up till 4:30.
Okay, so I can take the questions and then we can handle it another time if you like. One is I'm looking for an example of another border commission that shifts that has the governor not have discretion, but appoints basically a ministerial act from an entity outside of government. So I'm looking for DHERD or anybody, any border commission in the state where that's the case. And so maybe I'll just leave it at that. I'm looking for that. I haven't been able to find any. Thank you.
Aloha, Vice Chair. I'm sorry, we don't have any of that information. We can go back and look, and we don't administer. We can check with the governor's office on boards and commissions, and we can check with them, but I don't have any of that information right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Further questions? If not, I'm going to, because we only have 3 minutes until it's 4:30, the chair is going to not go into the breakout room, but I'm going to just recommend that we defect the date to provide additional discussion and make technical and non-substantive amendments. So with that, is there any discussion about that before we actually go into decision making? Any questions about that? Okay, so we'll end the public hearing and go into decision making. Chair is going to and we make technical and non-substantive amendments. Any discussion from members? Okay, if not, Senator Ihara.
Okay, we're voting on the chair's recommendation to pass Senate Bill 678 with amendments. Chair Taniguchi.
Aye.
Vice Chair votes aye with the reservation. Senator Chang.
Aye.
Senator Keo'olole.
Aye.
Senator Favela.
Aye.
Recommendations adopted.
Thank you, members. Right at the buzzer. Okay, so thank you very much for hanging in. Appreciate it.